Kaloflava, this is Pacific Waves from RNZ Pacific. I'm Susanna Suisuiki. Coming up, ancestral ties are on full display in Lakemba, Fiji. Meanwhile,
as you can hear now, it's party time on the field, dancing around right now.
The people of Laos celebrate the historic occasion, and
people took your loved ones away, put it in the house that you no idea of.
Pacifica leaders detail their lockdown pain. Ratu Tevita, the son of Fiji's first Prime Minister, Ratu Sir Kamisese Mara, was granted 3 chiefly titles this week in 2 grand ceremonies that took place on Niau and Lakemba Islands in Lau. Ratu Tevita, also known as Roko Ului, was granted the prestigious titles of Turanga Tui Niau, Sauni Vanu Ko Lau and Tui Lau. Moira Tuilaipa Taylor has more.
Scores of people gathered on Niau Island in Lau on Tuesday for the grand ceremony to witness the island's kingmakers present his first title, Turanga Tui Niau. The manager of Victoria University's Asia-Pacific programs, Fijian Matthew Raiwoka, says the events are deeply ingrained in culture.
If we spotlight the word culture, I think it becomes clearer to say that the installation of the Tui Niau Sauni Vanua Kolau is ingrained in Fijian culture, and that's why there's a whole lot of celebration and joy and a sense of renewal, because leadership is innate to Fijian culture. You cannot separate the two.
Mr. Raiwoka says that during the ceremonies, people were expected to remain silent and limit movement for up to 3 hours.
In culture, silence is a mark, not just of respect, but of the gifting of ourselves to withhold our voices, our opinions, and to allow for that person to have dominance over their space. It's a very philosophical understanding of it, but the word that a lot of the people would use is it's a spiritual engagement.
Tonga's King Tupo VI and Queen Nanasipau are also in Fiji for the traditional chiefly ceremonies. The King says he feels very much at home there.
Looking back at history, I can see why some Tongan ancestors chose to permanently live in Fiji. Tongans have a very bad history of traveling to other countries and never going back. But it's beautiful to see the traditional ceremony, and for me it's an education to see how the Vanua presents itself and to see how the Kara ceremony is presented here.
King Tupo was also conferred the title of Honorary Companion of the Order of Fiji. The Māori Queen, Te Ariki Nui Queeni Ngā Waihono i Te Pō, is representing the Kingitanga royal family at the ceremonies. The spokesperson for the Māori Queen highlighted the strong relationship between the Kingitanga and Fiji during an event at Government House. Rahui Papa says Māori are the descendants of the navigators of the vast ocean.
Our cousins in Fiji and our cousins in Aotearoa, we all hold the same whakapapa, the genealogical ties. And we remember well playing host to great leaders of Fiji like Ratu Tevita Mara and Andi Lala as they came to Turanga Waiwai on many occasions.
Following the Tui Lau and Sauni Vanua o Lau ceremonies, Ratu Tevita called on his people to unite and support his vision of bringing prosperity to the Vanua. Addressing hundreds gathered at his installation ceremony in Tuumbo village, Lakemba, Ratu Tevita emphasised that a chief's role is to guide and uplift the communities he serves. He pledged to lead with dedication and work tirelessly during his tenure to foster prosperity through unity.
Still in Lakemba, I spoke to Auckland-based Fijian language and dance tutor Alipate Trail, who was amongst the occasions. I began by asking him what it's like witnessing the chiefly installation of Ratu Tevita.
Oh my goodness, this has been a real historic occasion. The last Tui Lau to be installed was the late Ratu Kamisese Mara, one of Fiji's greatest statesmen ever. And for 20-something years or so, the people of Laos have been without their paramount chief. And so today, that history has now changed, and then it's come to now be filled, and the people are happy. The Lao province is now complete again, that they have their paramount chief sitting in his leadership role where he should be. Iyo.
So, why have you gone over for this occasion? Do you have personal connections to Lao yourself?
I do. As a part of the province, my grandmother comes from the southern Lao group of the island called Moala. And so Moala, of course, is part of the Lao province, and the paramount chief of the Lao province is the Tui Lao, Ratu Tevita, that was just installed today. So I do have my father's maternal links here, but also more on a cultural note, because I knew this would be an explosion and an experience of Fijian culture at its finest. And because I also teach Fijian language and traditional dance classes in Auckland to our Fijian Auckland-based youth, and I thought this would be an amazing opportunity just to come down and see what was going on. And definitely, it's just been a cultural feast every day of culture, the arts, the crafts of our people, and these ancient protocols which we don't see very often.
So, have you taken some youth with you along to this occasion?
Luckily enough, two families, the Richmonds and the Ngauravinakas, who are from Waitambu, which is 2 villages away from this chiefly village called Tumbo, where everything is happening. 10 or 12 of those kids are part of my actual dance and Fijian language classes. And so because their grandpa comes from this island, had planned to be here. So it's just been amazing to have almost half of my dance group here on the island witnessing this, and they've been at the forefront, right in the front row of the ceremonies. And today, even some of the young women, the young girls within our group, got to sit on the traditional walkway, which was laid with ngatu or tapa for the Tui Lao to walk on when he entered and exited the church. The women normally keep vigil on each side of the tapa. All our young girls from Auckland got to sit on either side. So what a beautiful experience it was for them to participate.
How many people would you say are there in Lakimba right now?
It's, I think, local population of the island is about 5,000 according to the auntie. And then it's almost about the same amount or even more that traveled from Suva and international local destinations and abroad to get here. They had ferries coming across from Suva pretty much for the last week, which went every day fully loaded. I myself came over on one on Monday, and we had to split the passengers because it was oversold. And so, so the island just exploded in population overnight because of this ceremony.
Oh, it really sounds full on. And Alipate, have you had the chance to meet the King and Queen of Tonga, or the Maori Queen?
Oh, goodness. I was just within arm's length of them pretty much in the morning and just in the afternoon, but I would have loved to have met them, but because they were here on such a short schedule, they've actually just left probably about half an hour before you called. We farewelled the royal family singing our famous Itale farewell song. And probably about an hour before that, the Maori Queen, Ngā Waihono i te Pō, Te Ariki, left as well. But it was so beautiful to see them arrive this morning from the start of the church service and the actual the kava ceremony to install, to the chiefly bathing in the sea, and then the final carry back from the ocean on his chiefly platform. Just a real visual, a dramatic scene to witness, and lots of beauty. And to have the royal family here from Tonga and our Maori Queen in New Zealand as well. Such an honor to have them here present, as well as other representatives of state from different countries.
Now, we know the connection between Tonga and Fiji, but what's the story behind the kingitanga and its ties to Ratu Tevita?
So the Mara family have always enjoyed close relationships with the kingitanga of New Zealand. I believe it goes back to King Tuheitia and Ratu Mara's time, and probably even beyond that. They've always been close. Every time we've had some of the Mara family come to visit New Zealand, I know most of the time they've always made their way down to Turangawaiwai in Waikato, Ngaruahia, made visits there, of course, when there's state funerals of any of the royal family passing on in either side of the country. There've always been representatives from each family coming in to pay their tributes and to strengthen that relationship. So I can't say whether there's kinship blood ties, but traditional and cultural ties, as well as friendship ties, definitely strong.
I mean, this is definitely a big deal for the Lau province, but how significant is this occasion for Fiji as a whole?
Well, the significance lies in that Ratu Tevita Amara is a son of two paramount high chiefs. His mother was Raw Lady Andi Lala Mara, who was the paramount chief of the Mburumbasanga Confederacy and her province. She was the Rokutunjuketi, which is the peninsula of Suva, and a great area of that. That's one of the high-ranking families on the mainland of Itilevu. And then, of course, Ratumara was the previous Tuilau and Sauni Vanukolau. So, of course, naturally, their offspring would be from two powerful chiefly households. And so that's the significance of this installation, is that they are probably one of the highest ranking families because of the alliances of the two powerful households here, the paramountcies. Yeah, if you look at it that way.
Reports of killings in Papua New Guinea committed by people claiming the victim was a sorcerer are becoming more and more frequent. The victims, mostly women, number in the hundreds each year. There has long been an effort to curb what are known as sorcery accusation relation violence, or SAV, but still the practice continues. Don Wiseman spoke to our PNG correspondent Scott Whitey about the victim in a recent, particularly barbaric murder in Hela Province in the PNG Highlands.
She's a mother of six, married to a teacher. Her husband's a teacher, and her husband died, and she was accused of sorcery and being responsible for his death. The immediate family of the husband took her and tortured her, as far as I know, over a period of 2 nights. So she was stripped and burned over that period. And then on the third day, allowed to wear some clothing, and she was taken to a bridge and shot. And everything was recorded on video. Her torture, the accusations leveled against her. I've just received a translation of the accusations, and it's pretty insane, the level of accusations. So tortured over 2 days and then taken and killed.
So much for relying on relatives to protect you after your husband dies.
Yeah, that's the unfortunate situation of women married into those large families, because I've spoken to several organizations, members of organizations who deal directly with SARV, and that's pretty much the case when their husbands, the husbands of those women die. They're the subject of accusations at first, and then if they're very unlucky, torture and eventual death.
Now, the Regional Police Commissioner, Joseph Tondop, he seems to be moving quickly on this.
Yes, under Tondop's command, I mean, he's seen various instances of sorcery accusation-related killings. So he's pretty much fed up with the inaction by the communities themselves and the difficulty of getting those perpetrators brought to justice. So he's issued orders for the provincial police commander to, mobilize resources and go after the killers. Over the last 2 days, there's been significant development with Police Commissioner Manning, posting a 50,000 kina reward for information leading to the arrests of those people. There's also been one arrest, and in particular, a close relative of the woman being arrested as well, and his identity brought to the police as well. So there's been significant progress since that incident.
And they have available, of course, a video.
Yes, it is, quite disturbing that with social media now, a lot of that brutality is recorded and posted without any thought of the impact it's going to have on the wider community. So sometimes I'm thinking the communities want to outdo themselves by posting videos of the accusations and the tortures. Yeah, pretty brutal video, this one.
Mr. Tondop wants to see a wider police action to combat SARV across the country. He wants a national strategy. Is that likely? Is that going to happen?
There are various organizations working towards a national strategy, but the the communities and the accusations and how the communities respond to SARV is varied, very, very different in different communities. And in the Highlands in particular, there are similarities, and a lot of the community-based organizations, church-based organizations have developed their own systems to deal with SARV. For instance, in Enga, where the UN has put an enormous amount of resources in there. I just spoke to a UN official who said they can't put safe houses in Enga because the safe houses will be attacked. So the victims of sorcery violence are brought out of Enga and placed in other provinces where there are safe houses. So the systems are varied. There needs to be a strategy, as Tondop said, on a national scale, but it's a complex area to work within. And a lot of times the police and government officials rely on community-based organizations and individuals who bravely go out and rescue these women.
Are incidents of SARV becoming more common, or are they now, because of the wider availability of media, are they just being reported?
I think they are becoming a lot more prevalent. I was just speaking with a church health worker based in Hela, and he's saying that in the last 6 months, there's been instances every month that he's heard or seen, particularly outside of Tari itself. So it's becoming prevalent. And I think the other factor is that people are reporting it more, and there's a lot more awareness in the community. So these incidents are being reported to police or to the churches or to community-based organizations in the hope that it'll be stopped or help will be brought to them.
Māori, Pasifika and Asian community leaders have told the Royal Commission of Inquiry into the COVID-19 response how hard it was to adapt to lockdown rules. The hearing is underway in Auckland, and so far the focus has been on the impact of the extended lockdown in Auckland and Northland in 2021. Victor Waters reports.
Pasifika and Asian community leaders spoke about the difficulties lockdowns presented to their people, which at times brought back emotional memories. A tearful Penina Ifopo, who is a Samoan Manurewa community leader, says it was distressing for Pasifika people to be prevented from following their cultural customs for funerals.
People took your loved ones away, put it in the house that you no idea of, being alone in there. But we have a spiritual connection with our loved ones. And then you see the hearse taking them to be buried. It was very traumatizing.
Penina Ifopo told commissioners family households were not prepared for lockdown and schools closing. She says many children did not have access to computers or even the internet for online learning.
A lot of families, they're just living on data. There's no Wi-Fi at home. And also digital, lucky if there's a laptop. Phones, yes, you will find phones in every single home, but no Wi-Fi. And then parents will just don't know what to do because they were the teachers at the time.
Reverend Victor Poesa of the Christian Church of Samoa says members of the community found the language used to talk about COVID-19 and the vaccine confusing.
Did not understand how many vaccination has to go through in terms of having the first booster and then the second one, then the third one. Even now, that information is quite mixed up.
Hector Kawai of Te Whānau o Waipereira, a health and social service provider in West Auckland, says similar issues were felt among Māori, allowing misinformation to become rife.
Being on the front line, a lot of our whānau, we had a lot of whānau who came to us who were saying, I don't want to put that poison in my body, and again, that they had been, the stuff that they had, got from some quote-unquote Facebook expert.
Raywin Bunner, Deputy Director of Whānau Order Community Clinics, a healthcare provider that focuses on Māori health, says this misinformation often turned into conflict. Speaking to commissioners remotely, she talked about the protests at vaccination clinics.
When we had our community, our pakeke, our kaumātua and koe coming through, it was quite fearful for them to be vaccinated when you've got other, protesters outside who were threatening a lot of our people who were coming through.
Hector Kawai says kaupapa Māori-led solutions, like Te Whānau o Waipereira, did well to connect with Māori during the pandemic, but their work wasn't always well received.
When we first kind of came on to be essential service, I felt like there was some sort of a certain amount of institutional racism because of, there's this bunch of Maoris out in the community, and that's the only ones that can be delivering vaccinations should be doctors and nurses, but in fact we can do those sorts of things.
Today, the inquiry will focus on vaccine safety, looking at vaccine science and misinformation.
That's Pacific Waves for today. For all episodes, head over to rnz.co.nz/Pacific. We're also on Spotify, Apple and iHeartRadio. From myself and the RNZ Pacific team, Siabo.